Hello, this is Alexander Lawrence from the Portable Infinite, and I was just going to do a video about Cups Magazine. Cups Magazine was a free monthly magazine that I was one of the editors of in the 90s. We basically did whatever we wanted to do, and we ended up pissing off a lot of people. We got to interview many people, many authors, Martin Amis, Mary Gaitskill, so many, William T. Vollmann, Danielle Willis. Many of the interviews I did ended up on the Portable Infinite, on Free Williamsburg, and other magazines. They all first appeared, some of them appeared at Cups first, and then on the Free Williamsburg and the Portable Infinite. Regular contributors were like William T. Vollmann. Dave Eggers was the editor before me. David Strauss, or D. Strauss, as we call him, and Eurydice and a bunch of people wrote for it. We started it in San Francisco, moved to New York in '95. We had an issue with it had Vincent Gallo on the cover. He agreed only to be on the magazine if we put him on the cover. I found a bunch of back issues and correspondence. Yes, that's true. We were once sued for plagiarism. That wasn't me. That that was like somebody else's story by a writer first appeared in Cups, and it was by a teacher who taught at Brown, and the student claimed that she had been ripped off, and then we settled out of court. Included payment of $100, and we had to publish her original story in the next issue. Some people who were frequently in the magazine, oh yeah, Ronald Sukenick, David Markson, Gilbert Sorrentino, Allen Ginsberg, and a lot of them are dead now. And I think, yeah, Chris Sorrentino was also like I I put like Sukenick and Chris Sorrentino as like contributing editors, like, and we were really, like, let me just go over I mean, before Cups, I was kind of influenced by Research Magazine, Mondo 2000. I had already done the Grove Press number at the Review of Contemporary Fiction. So the Review of Contemporary Fiction was more like a highbrow version of the literary stuff. And then, I think in the early 90s, I used to go to the San Francisco Review of Books, which I ended up writing for, in the Bay Garden, some of them. And I go, hey, let's interview William T. Vollmann or Mark Liner or somebody. And they go, no, those guys are, you know, are lowbrow, or they're not good enough. And then, the Bay Guardian had Vollmann on the cover, and the Examiner had an article on Vollmann by '95. He became kind of mainstream by then, and he ended up winning the National Book Award later. So, Sukenick. I have a picture of the Sukenick. And okay, and then there's the Grove and the Grove Press number. I was doing Grove Press stuff in the early '90s, and then I found a copy of the early Cups, which was like was like about a 16-page like newsletter that was available at the Horseshoe Cafe. I picked it up and I saw a poem by K.L. Hill, he was like just like some old guy that used to show up at poetry readings, and I never could remember any of his poems. I probably have a couple of them somewhere lying around or in the issues, and I'll have a picture of one of the early issues here. And we also did Coffee Works, and so Eggers published my poem. Eggers bought the magazine off the original owner, editor, Camille Stupar, who started it in '91. I think she was from San Diego. And Eggers and Lisa Tabb did it for a couple years. And then when I was doing the poetry readings at the Blue Monkey Cafe in near the Fillmore, on the north side of Fillmore, over where Winterland actually was, Eggers showed up because we had that poetry license controversy, and people would come over there, even though the Blue Monkey Cafe was kind of considered sort of a yuppie hangout, and not cool, not in the Mission, not in South of Market, not in any cool neighborhood, and everyone started showing up, and even Brian Jonestown Massacre was in Cups magazine. But I wasn't the music editor in the '90s. I was doing literature, and I got to interview all my heroes and friends and stuff. And let me go through some of the issues. So we had Brian Jonestown. interviewed Bret Easton Ellis really early on. Sorrentino was in an early issue when we were still on newsprint. We used to print in Howard Quinn, and then we went to that place in Michigan where everyone publishes stuff. Who knows where people publish now? And I even like made a couple phony copies, even though I did interview Tiny Tim for, I think it was for Cups. I don't remember it being in there, but I made a few copies. Yeah, we had, yeah, there was Coffee Works, and then yeah, by Eggers moved on to his magazine, Might magazine, and then he had an office down in South Park in San Francisco with Lisa Tabb, and Lisa Tabb did her Airplane magazine, which he sold and made a bunch of money, and Eggers went on to do Might, and then he wrote a book, and then he wrote his Staggering Genius book, like in late 90s. But I was friends with him I met him in 93. I met him in the first year he came, and I knew all the people that were in the Staggering Genius, Shalini, and Randy Stickrod. I know all those people because I met him in the early Cups meetings, and then he sold it to David Latimer at the end of 93. In 94, in 95, we kind of combined with, we kind of started distributing in San Francisco, LA, Portland, Seattle, Chicago, New York. We combined with Java Journal in New York with Paul Millman in 95. They became our New York office. And then in 96, 5 of us moved to New York. And then we did it there for, the first 3 years were okay. By 99, Christian Edinger was basically doing it by himself. And Brian Bentz might have came and he must have got fired like 5 or 10 times. And then by 99, by the time we did the Blair Witch Project issue, which was like a kind of fiasco, that was like definitely the summer of 99. It was over. So we had the issue, the Fiona Apple. That was like we were promoted her first album. This one with the Velvet Underground. Had a Lynn Tillman interview. That was still, we had the New York office, but we were doing it from San Francisco. This one's the San Francisco. The one with Nicole Blackman, that's the, I think, we were still in San Francisco by that time. That was probably 95. The Naked Psychic was kind of like the one where we were moving to New York. So March 96, around there, or April of 96. Dame Darcy was kind of like the first one we did at New York. So I interviewed Dame Darcy and Tom Beller in the first month or two when I got to New York. The Timothy Leary one, we had been in New York for a while. By that time, I was kind of like transitioning out of the literary insider person, and because there were just so many film festivals, that was kind of what was happening in New York at the time. And then we had the Beth Orton. We were early champion of Beth Orton and Fiona Apple. Because Cups was kind of famous for having a girl on the cover with coffee, and then and then later we had like articles about Jewel or Fiona Apple or Beth Orton. It was kind of like the singer-songwriter became like replaced the hot chick with a cup of coffee on the cover, like we had. And then let's see, and then I did this one issue with Siri Husted on the cover. That was like one of my last early 98 where I had kind of control. I picked all the stories, and we had a lot of pictures of my friends who were and the authors. I should like scan some of those. And then John Waters was on the cover. That was probably like really pretty late, maybe late 98 or early 99. I was kind of already kind of done. Vincent Gallo, I don't really remember doing. I remember interviewing Artur de Lucy and Momus pretty late in the picture there. And Vincent Gallo, Tribe Called Quest was kind of our first year there. David Sanchez was, I forgot that guy's designer. We went through many designers, maybe 10 different people. Shirley Halprin was like the most consistent one when we were in New York. And then, and then here's a picture of the editors, me with Meredith Oakes, who's a pretty famous author now, and Christian Edinger, who I saw in San Francisco last year in 2021. Yeah, Esquire. I interviewed Gordon Lish, who was Esquire in the '70s. That's probably pre Gordon Lish. And then, yeah, because the whole time I was in New York, I was trying to get my book of stories, Five Fingers Make a Fist. So that didn't really happen till 2007. So those were the stories that was always kind of related. And there was other magazines. I mean, the LA Record kind of seemed like a combination of how Cups was and like early interview magazine kind of thing. Mary Gaitskill, I used to see her a lot because she lived in San Francisco in the '90s, and then she moved to New York around the same time. Gintarski was another person that wrote for us a lot, and he did a thing about Grove Press because we kind of continued doing Grove Press. And then the Deli was kind of like another thing that kind of was Cups like, and yeah, and I guess Circus Magazine was kind of an influence. And then I did a couple more Cups types of covers just as a joke. Let's see. Oh yeah, we had this photographer. She did a lot of things. That's still early. That's early glossy magazine. What's it? She did pictures of the cardigans. Abby Janae, yeah, she was on the cover and she took a picture of herself, and she was doing pictures like kind of like Cindy Sherman kind of stuff. And then this is Matt Jaffe designed that in San Francisco, maybe like February '94. This is like another fiction issue I did. This one had Daniel Willis in it, so that's like either '95 or very early '96. And there's a Sukenick article that it was in the newsprint. Yeah, and then, yeah, I mean, after Cuffs Magazine, I kind of ended up doing iUniverse and Barnes and Noble online, and kind of trying to transition to interview. I guess I kind of transitioned. I was taking a lot of the stuff I did in Cups and before and Altex, and I started doing Free Williamsburg, and then the Hipster Handbook came out in 2003 or 2004. I should include that. And New York Rocker was another one that was kind of an influence, and Circus Magazine, and I thought that Free Williamsburg and then the Portable Infinite, which I started doing. I did. I guess I did the Free Williamsburg from '99 to 2004, and then I got exiled because I basically moved to LA, and they had like a New York guy to take my place. But by 2006, I got contacted by Zoo Magazine, so I got to do kind of this. It was a print magazine. I think it's still going in 2023. I just saw like the latest issue. They're on issue 7. I think they're on like issue 80, 90 something. It's kind of crazy that Zoo Magazine's still around. Zoo Magazine's like a real thick publication, a lot like Vogue or something. It's a very expensive art magazine. Okay, so I think, yeah, that's enough. 13. Okay, that's Cups Magazine. That's the history. I'll try to have some pictures here. Okay.